o'clock. The meeting or event has officially started. Welcome everybody to the second meeting of the month. Woo! It's kind of intimidating because there's so. Oh, let me move out of the way real quick. It's kind of intimidating because there's so many people here today. So I'm a little nervous, but it's all good. We're gonna have a great time. Without further ado, I'm going to switch it over to our invocation for tonight, which will be Mr. Luke Doug. So please give him a warm welcome.
Thank you, Sean. I wish I saw that message earlier.
I got it on one.
Welcome all. I'd like to give tonight's invocation with a couple words by Thomas Jefferson, local politician, right? So his words, and this quote is, "Though I am but an old man, I'm but a young gardener." And I really like the spirit of this because my own interpretation would be to always endeavor for continuous learning, pick up new skills. We may think we have learned everything there is to know about one thing or another, but there's always a new hobby, new gardening, speaking at Toastmasters. We're all young at heart in our new endeavors. Without further ado, turn it back over to the Toastmaster of the evening, Miss Mallory.
Hello, everyone. I'm Toastmaster of the evening. As you can see, the schedule is packed today. We have 4 speeches. 4, but also, did I see an icebreaker? Was there, is the long lost TM, is he icebreaking?
No, that was just from previous meeting. You hadn't named yourself yet.
So we only have 4 speeches today. Yes, so this is my first time doing Toastmaster of the evening. So basically I go over the format, right? So we have 4 speeches, then we're going to take a break, and then we're going to get into the topic master. And after that, we're going to take a break. Well, we're going to get a timer to evaluate, to vote for who's the best topic master. And then after that, we have evaluations, and then we will be done. And that, I give it over to the general evaluator, which is...
Point of order. We actually didn't have our president open the meeting. Can we actually have our president open the meeting?
Take it away, Zach.
Okay.
Zach.
All right. How's everyone doing this evening?
Fantastic.
This has got to be the most highly attended in-person meeting, including the virtual and in-person meeting in a long time. So give yourself a hand for all that. We got, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, including myself, in person. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 virtual members. And yeah, it's gonna be a fun night. 4 speakers, as Ms. Mallory Myers mentioned, our Toastmaster of the evening. So let me first start off by introducing our guests. Your name is, can we stand and say your name and what you're doing here this evening?
Latasha. My name is Latasha Holloway.
Okay.
Good to be here tonight.
So what do you
That's Mayor Holloway to you.
Okay, all right, yeah, feature Mayor Holloway, right? Holloway, right?
Yes.
Okay. What do you plan on getting out of this meeting? You're going to speak this evening, correct?
Yes, I do.
Okay, great. And I'm actually your evaluator, so.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I'll do that sort of thing. So what's your name, ma'am?
I'm Lashara Green.
Hi, Lashara.
Came here today because I have a passion to increase my vocabulary and work on my public speaking.
Okay.
And so my coach referred me to this.
Oh, great.
And just try it out.
Great, awesome. Glad you came. Glad you came. What was it one more time? Lashara? Lashara, okay. All right. And so Secretary Sandeep, we make a note of those 2 guests. Do we have any virtual guests? Well, long lost TM, Hans-Peter Hidley. Yeah, good to see you again, friend. Want to say a few things? All right, awesome. Okay, so I need this one as well. Anything else? Let's here, conduct. So I'll give more at the end. Closing remarks and announcements and things. So without further ado, we'll turn it back over to Miss Mallory Myers, our Toastmaster of the evening. Yeah. Well, you just, you can, if anything, you can just turn it over to the general evaluator.
Okay.
Or you can say a few more words. It's up to you.
All right, so I'll just go over again. So basically we have 4 speeches going on today. And after the speech, we're gonna give a minute for the evaluations to go, and then we're gonna take a break. When we come back, we're gonna have topic masters, which is basically you come up here. Well, the topic master will come up here, choose people to talk about a random topic, and you have 1 minute to complete it. Mainly our guests go through this and people who don't have roles. After that, we'll have evaluations, and then we'll be done for the night. Now I'd like to give it over to the general evaluator, Sami.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm the general evaluator of the evening. So as a general evaluator, my responsibility is present the overall general evaluation of the meeting as a whole, like from the beginning to the end. So I'll be evaluating the different aspects like the evaluations, table topics, and how the overall meeting proceeded as a whole. So I'm not going to do this alone. I have a team with me. And so the first member I'm going to call upon is the timer of the evening. And so today's timer is Andrew Bullock.
Good evening. How is everyone doing today? I am Andrew Bullock, and I will be your timer for this evening. And I will use my virtual background to indicate where you are progressing in your speech. Excuse me. When you reach your minimum time requirement, you will see the green. And when you are halfway through to the end of your time requirement, you will see the yellow. When you reach your maximum time requirement, I will flash the red. If you become like Robbie Riggs and keep going long after your time has expired, I might play a little video just to entertain everyone while you're still talking. And I will give my report at the end of each segment so that we can vote for who is the best speaker, best table topics master, and best evaluator. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
For the wonderful introduction of the timer's role. So the next member I'm going to call upon is the word master listen up, and that is Lee Walker.
Don't need a handoff. Oh.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's all good. Thank you. This evening I'll be serving as the word master. And listen up. First, word master. We in Toastmasters, or this club, uses the word master function to help increase and improve our vocabulary. So the word master chooses a word to use during the evening. And I've chosen the word Schadenfreude. And yes, it is a German word. But so the definition first is Schadenfreude is the enjoyment obtained from the troubles of other people. So here's the example in a sentence. Schadenfreude was felt by many viewers when the arrogant contestant was voted off the show. And then I just happened to find this on Google or the internet for a word of the day function, and it added some extra trivia or whatever. So Schadenfreude is the combination of the German nouns Schaden meaning damage or harm, and Freude meaning joy. So you put those together, it's the joy of somebody else's harm or misfortune. So now listen up. In Toastmasters, we're mainly speaking, we give speeches and presentations, table topics, evaluations, those are all speaking roles. But we also want to listening to what people say and understand what they've said is part of communication too. So we have the listen up role, and I'll be taking notes of things that are said by different speakers tonight, and I'll give you some questions to answer those at the end of the meeting. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Mr. Lee Walker. So the next member I'm going to call upon is the grammarian R-counter, and that would be Mr. Hans. Mr. Grammarian R-counter.
You're still muted.
Okay. Would appreciate it a little bit more heads up of being the odd counter. However, as the odd counter, I am responsible for counting ahs, ums, filler words, you know, like, etc. And at the end of the meeting, I will be giving everybody a count on how I did on the various things. Back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
So the next one who I'm going to call upon is the topics master of the evening, and that would be Elizabeth Clare. Yes, Elizabeth Clare, you want to introduce your role for the evening?
Yes. Thank you. I love being topics master because I get to make other people squirm and emote and create a speech out of a simple question or a simple topic. My role is to call on people who do not have a major role this evening, so that if I call on you and I didn't know that you were a speaker, please say, call on someone else rather than not let everyone have a chance to speak. So I will be asking questions on the topic of love, given that February is the love month. So while you're listening to other people's speeches, think about love and how you would answer love questions that are going to be really tricky. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Ms. Topics Master. Looking forward to the table topic session. So we have 4 speakers today. So it's been long since we had 4 speakers. And so we have a long list of evaluators. So the first evaluator is Luke Dobbs. The second evaluator is Zach Phillips. The third evaluator is Robert Riggs. And the fourth evaluator is Tammy Adama. So I think that would be my role. And with that being said, I would just pass it back to the Toastmaster of the evening.
All right. So we're going into speaker number 1. This is Sherry Marshall's Icebreaker, my journey from being overweight to becoming a functional medicine coach. Very interested to see how this speech goes because that's crazy. I can't even believe you were overweight. So I'm ready to see this speech. Thank you.
I'm a family practice physician and functional medicine coach. And I'd like to share with you my journey of how I went from an overweight teenager to being a functional medicine coach. It all started when I was in high school. I was overweight. And at the same time, my dad received an ultimatum from his doctor, who said, change your lifestyle or you are going to die of a heart attack. You will have a heart attack. And in support of my dad, our whole family changed the way we ate. I thought that was really amazing information at the time. I hadn't learned it in school, and I really wanted to learn more. So I went to school for nutrition and became a dietitian. And when I graduated, most of the jobs were in hospitals. So I became a hospital dietitian. And one day I went to see a patient who had had a heart attack to discuss lifestyle changes. And he said to me angrily, "I don't care if I eat fried chicken or baked chicken." And then he said, "Am I going to live until tomorrow?" And it was very clear that when patients are in hospitals, they're not in the right mindset for making lifestyle changes. I had to find a better way. And I thought, well, if I become a physician, I can find patients when they have a high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and hopefully help prevent the heart attack. And I went to medical school, became a family practice physician, had a practice, and many times when I would introduce the idea of lifestyle changes to patients, many said, "Just give me pills." And I wanted to cry with that because people were not ready to make that type of commitment to their health. I still had to find a better way. And then my own health took a turn. I developed headaches and migraines. Even though I ate healthy, I still started to not feel well. And one day in May, the weather was beautiful, sunny. It was the perfect day for stand-up paddleboarding, my favorite go-to activity. And that day, the migraine won. I spent the day curled up in a dark room. I decided to get help. I went to specialists and I was started on multiple medications to control my headaches, which did help the headaches. However, I still felt unwell. And in my search to find, to improve my health, I discovered functional medicine, which is a holistic health, program to get to the root cause of disease, to support the path to wellness and vitality. I worked with a functional medicine physician to apply the principles to myself, and I no longer need daily medication. Following my passion for wellness and optimal health, I pursued functional medicine training. I've now created the most effective way to help people. I have opened my own online business called The Best of Health Functional Medicine. I guide clients who are ready to make lifestyle changes through this healing program. A recent graduate who lost 25 pounds said, "Every day I look in the mirror, I can't believe it's me." She's relaxed and feels confident in her body. She's been single for 10 years and recently started dating. It lights me up to ease suffering and help others fall in love with taking care of themselves. I'm here at Toastmasters to transform my fear of public speaking into having fun when public speaking. This will allow me to share the healing message of functional medicine with 1 million people. I wholeheartedly believe that the lifestyle changes my family made when I was a teenager is allowing me to travel later this month to visit my dad to celebrate his 85th birthday. Thank you.
Thank you for that speech, Sherry. It was really informative. I liked it. But now we have our second speech.
Get 1 minute.
Oh, can we get 1 minute on the timer for evaluation? All right. So now our second speech. She is on the Visionary Communication Level 1 pathway, Intro to Vocal Variety and Body Language. Her speech title is Just Talking About Me. Our next speaker wants to become our next mayor and has primed up her signature story for her signature move. This political firebrand is not only a mover and shaker in her community, she is also a passionate mother. Please welcome to the lectern, giving her second speech on her 5th day as a Toastmaster, Madam Latasha Holloway.
Wow, a lot to live up to there. I just want to say thank you. You all have been so inviting in my efforts to hone in on this skill set that doesn't quite come naturally for everyone. I'm just honored to be here this evening and speaking with you and telling you a little bit more about myself. As you know, my name is Latasha Holloway. I am the mother of 4 beautiful children with unique needs. I have had the misfortune, however, of having my faith tested living in the city of Virginia Beach. I'm here tonight basically to speak to what I believe is the fundamental need in this city to ensure that we have a city for everyone, and that is equity. In order for us to have a city where we all can thrive, we have to have an equitable system. So I'm going to speak a little bit about the experiences that shaped me and caused me to want to delve into the arena of politics. I was reared by my grandparents. My grandfather, in fact, used his veteran benefits to purchase the family home. In those days, the whole family pretty much lived in one house. So my grandparents having 7 children, and then the grandchildren, and my father had 4 of his own. So we were just ecstatic to live in this great big house. We call it Papa's house off of Independence Boulevard right here in Virginia Beach. We had the pleasure of having a great big orchard that we could spend all day outside and have no need to even come inside for water or anything to eat, because literally everything we needed was provided in this orchard. I've never felt so safe than in that home. Unfortunately, that home was stripped from my family. Because of the use of eminent domain, my family, including hundreds of other families in the community, were forced to relocate, and we were forced to move outside of the community that most of us had ever known. My grandmother, I can remember just feeling so broken and the look of despair on her face. I can remember her speaking to us in very distraught tones as she described the hopelessness of where we are going to go, where we're going to end up, and how are we going to make it, because this land, this home is all that any of us knew. It was all that we had in our family. And this was the legacy. And inevitably, this legacy would be broken since we were being forced to relocate. At the same time, I can remember it was during a time that our city was already at odds. I can remember watching on TV the story about the 1989 Rickfest and turning to my grandmother and asking her, what's going on here? Trying to make sense of it in a child's mind. And I remember my grandmother's face and the tears that swelled up in her eyes as she described and explained to us why we would no longer be allowed to go down to the ocean front here in our beautiful city. That was heartbreaking for us kids to hear. It was devastating, in fact. But here we are 30 years later, and not very much has changed in our city. We're still a city at odds. We're still a city where leadership doesn't hear or meet the needs of our citizens. We're still a city where so many have been displaced and feel that City Hall is just not working in their own best interest. And that has to be one of the most pivotal moments that led me to wanting to be a leader within my city. I know that there's something that I can now bring to the table that other people may have, misjudged, overlooked, or just plain flattened out ignored because they weren't aware of what other people in the city were experiencing. It was such a pivotal moment in our family's life that I can tell you that many of those family members never recovered. Many of those family members have been moved out of the city of Virginia Beach altogether because unfortunately, that's all that they can afford. I'm here to tell you that we can make a city where there is affordable housing. We can reimagine the city for all of our employees of the city to ensure that they are receiving a livable wage. We can put value back into our public school systems. We can ensure that we are initiating the initiatives to ensure that there's clean water, clean air, and our households are stronger than they've ever been before. We can do it, and that's what I'm here to deliver to the city. Thank you all for hearing me out this evening.
All right, thank you for that lovely speech. Can I get 1 minute on the timer for evaluations? All right, now for our next speech. He is doing strategic relationship pathway. He's on his level 2. Introduction to Toastmaster mentoring. Supposed to be 5 to 7 minutes. His speech title is My Father. Today, Sean will be talking about a very important figure in his life, his father. Please welcome to the stage, Sean Markle.
I'm gonna have a heart attack. All right, so anyways, who is a mentor? What is a mentor? Mentor is somebody that guides you, who advises you, and supports you, and helps you grow as a person and become the best version of yourself. Anyone can be your mentor. Your parents, your teacher, or even someone in this club. Wow. So when I came across this project on my L2, the first person that popped up in my mind was my father. So a little bit of background about my father. My father was born in 1972 and is currently 50 years old. He is a software engineer for Cox, and he is a passionate Seahawks Seattle fan. Woo! See how it is, everybody? It's cool. But anyways, he taught, so he's a passionate Seattle fan, but most importantly, he plays a fundamental role in shaping me into who I am today. He taught me to be resilient, kind, compassionate, humble, yada, yada, yada. The list goes on forever. I don't want to bore you guys out. So there are many reasons why I see him as a mentor, but since we're limited on time, and I feel like this might be a little bit of a trivial matter to you guys, I've broken it down to 3 points on why he is a mentor for me. So point number 1, he thinks logically. So how many of you guys have been on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, and you scroll through your feed and you see that one post that's like, follow your heart, you listen to it when it speaks. A photo of like a sunset in the background, something pretty, just by a show of hands. Okay, so pretty much everybody. Serious question though, who makes that post? Like, I feel like the people who make that post and the majority of people who actually take it at heart end up dead or end up being a junkie. I'm not saying don't follow your dreams. I'm all for it. But what I'm saying is, where do you cross the line between emotional reasoning and following your intuition and logical thinking? Well, luckily, my father came and helped me divide and cross a line between these two things in all sorts of matters in life. For example, financial matters, interpersonal relationships, and even cooking. Garlic makes everything taste better. Keep that in mind, everybody. Let's see. All right. Sorry. Sorry. So, for example, there have been multiple instances in high school where I wanted to buy so many things. Like I want to buy this new jacket so I can look cool. I'm trying to buy these Jordan so I can flex on everybody. I'm trying to buy this new car so I can impress this girl. But luckily, my father knocked some sense into me and helped me realize that I'm broke, first of all. I'm making $7.25 at McDonald's. There's no way I can afford these things. And second off, these things are not really functional and they kind of look ugly. So I feel like ultimately in the end, he helped me, ultimately in the end, his philosophy helped me humble myself and look at things sensibly. Life's not all about being flashy and flexing with others. Keep that in mind. The second reason why I see him as a mentor is because he is compassionate towards others. So my father drilled this into my head since I was little. Listen to others in a non-judgmental, open-minded, and generous way. So let me tell you guys something. My father says this all the time, and I'm sure you guys know this already, but caring and being compassionate is not a weakness. It is a strength. The greatest leaders in the world are compassionate people. He showed me that the people we work with, the people we go to school with, the people we learn with, the people we walk by, the people in this club, we're all human. So see and treat them as such. Just because someone is new at something or just because someone is younger than you doesn't mean you have to look down on them. Everyone has something to offer, so have some humility. Third and final reason why he is a mentor for me is because he is positive and he always thinks positively. He is someone that sees a silver lining in the worst case scenario and never gives up on hope. For example, I've had multiple times where I've been working on my car and there's like a part that's stuck on somewhere that I can't get off, or there's like I attach something to the wrong spot and I am just completely furious and I give up. Luckily, I asked my dad. He comes in with a positive mindset and somehow works his magic and fixes the problem up for me, which is awesome. And the other principle, being positive, is important because your vibe and energy. The other principle, being positive, is important because your vibe/energy you give off affects others. I've noticed that in the workplace or anywhere where there's a group of people, people's happiness and positivity radiates to others around them. It makes other people feel happy and joyful. So why not bring it everywhere? These are the reasons why I see my father as a mentor and love him. Despite all the ups and downs we've had in the past 20 years, I can say with confidence that he has made a detrimental impact on me, and I strive to be like him. So if you still have your father or your mother around, or any guardian that took care of you or raised you, please check up on them and tell them you love them, because you have to enjoy and cherish what you have now instead of having regrets in the future. And thanks for listening to me, guys. And now back to you, Toastmaster.
All right, set 1 minute on the timer for evaluation. Now, welcome back. I'm just kidding. Next speaker, he is on the pathway of motivational strategies. Level 3, connect with your audience for 5 to 7 minute speech. His speech title is From Stuck to Back Up. Introducing John Gregory as he gives a talk on setting goals, falling off, and then following through on those goals. Welcome up to the lectern, John Gregory.
How's my hair look, everybody? Pretty good? Looking good? Awesome, awesome.
Don Johnson.
Yeah, Don Johnson? All right. Hello, everybody. My name is John Gregory, and it is a pleasure today to be giving you guys this speech. Now, I want everybody to think of two goals you have this year that you want to accomplish. I want you to think of the different things that these two goals could do for your life if you were to achieve them. Maybe you'll feel financially stable. Would you feel more happy, excited, less stressed out, less worn down? Each and every one of you has what it takes inside of you to achieve these goals this year. You have what it takes to pull it out and realize those goals yourself. You have a vision of yourself achieving more than you currently have. You were put on this earth to leave an impact. And in order to leave an impact, you must follow through on those goals, whether or not you're facing obstacles. Not so long ago, there was a time when I felt stuck, unconfident, alone, broken, and like I couldn't get up. I was so convinced that I couldn't follow my dreams that I didn't even believe I deserved to have a dream. My brother, when we were growing up, was put back into foster care by our parents who adopted us. They spent more time trying to get rid of us than they did trying to adopt us. Because of that, I was always told I would end up dead or in jail, a bum, a loser, and I would have never amount to anything. The worst part is I beat myself up more than they did to me. So I gave up. I felt like there was no point in trying, no point in going after my dreams. And this is all I could ever realize for myself. I want everybody to repeat something after me. What you go through is not what you will go to. Everybody repeat after me. What you go through is not what you will go to. That was great, guys. Let's get these energies up one more time. What you go through is not what you will go to.
What you go through is not what you go through.
There we go, there we go. The situation you are currently in is not the destination you're heading towards. Someone out there right now is feeling so defeated They believe no matter how hard they try, what they do, where they go, and how they do it, they'll never be able to achieve their dreams and get out from where they're at. They feel stuck, they feel alone, and they feel broken. They have convinced themselves to quit. And because of that, they ask themselves questions like, why even try if I know it won't come true? What is the point? I just can't do it. Why does this happen to me? I know some of you relate to that. Why does this happen to me? I have another question for you guys. How many people out here have ever rode a bicycle before? And don't lie. All right, let me see all these hands up. Don't lie to me. All right, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you a little story most of you may remember about yourselves. I want to talk to y'all about the first time you ever rode a bicycle. I want you to remember the feeling of achievement you got when you successfully rode that bicycle without falling down, without hurting yourself. Maybe you felt so accomplished, you put sunglasses on your face and rode around like you were the world's greatest stuntman on the coolest bicycle in the world. But it wasn't always like that, was it? Now I want you to think about all the times you fell down and you got hurt, scraped your knees, hurt your elbows, and didn't want to even get on the bike again. It hurt so bad that you knew that you would probably get hurt again and you did not want to get back on the bicycle, but you knew it would hurt more if you didn't get back up and learn to ride it. A lot of times this happens to our goals and dreams. The obstacles in our lives are the ground we hit when we fall. And the goal we want to achieve is the bicycle itself. I know you've heard the term, it's as easy as riding a bike. But it's not, you know, it's easy, they say. I fell down 5 times this week, busted all my knees, my elbows, rolled in a ditch, got swarmed by fire ants and barely made it back on my shoes, let alone back on the seat of that bicycle. Robert, he knows. He was there. No, I'm just kidding. But you still got back up and you tried riding that bike again, didn't you? Even after all that pain, that hardship, you still got back on that bicycle. Why didn't you quit? It wasn't because you wanted to be cool or a stuntman. No, it was because you knew if you failed enough times towards your goal, you would eventually achieve them. You would eventually be riding that bike. You set your sights and aimed, fired until you hit your target, and you did not give up until you achieved that. A blind man might not see with his eyes, but in his heart, he knows where he's heading. Remember those goals I told you about in the beginning of the speech? Those 2 goals? Those goals are your bicycle. And though sometimes you may fall, you can never give up. You must get back up on that bike and keep trying until you finally achieve what you deserve. Do not fall down and give up. Fall down and get up. Ladies and gentlemen, when you leave here today, keep your mind and heart open. Set your sights as high as you can and keep riding that bicycle. Thank you.
All right, set 1 minute on the timer for evaluations. All right, can I have a timer's report?
Absolutely. Full confession, I almost messed up on the time because I kept forgetting I was timer while enjoying all these wonderful speeches. Our first speaker, Sherry, came in at 4 minutes and 42 seconds. Latasha came in at 6 minutes and 3 seconds. Sean came in at 6 minutes and 9 seconds. And John wrapped it up at 6 minutes and 13 seconds. All speakers qualify. I will launch the poll here momentarily.
I got a quick question. Who do we give our votes to?
Sean Markle, your Sergeant at Arms.
All right, we're gonna take a break. We'll come back at 7:55.
Right now, whoever liked the most.
Do you have a sheet that?
You want to
fill out?
I got some paper.
Oh, you just,
Ripping off pages.
yeah, I'll give you the back of it.
Oh, you got one for it?
Whoever you thought was the best speaker for the day, just write it down and then tear off a little bit. You don't need something that.
Sorry.
Write down, and then we'll do the same thing for 8 o'clock. And for the-
Oh.
So when I went best about it.
Okay.
Back in the deck already.
Alish.
Out. Oh, you can, okay. Yeah.
I know you have a little one.
Yes, I do.
Go ahead. After the meeting,
Mhm.
you are more than welcome to come to Top Golf.
Oh,
We get free play, free game play, and it's half price off all food. So,
Really?
absolutely, if you have time, you don't have to go for it.
I wish I had known that. I would have hired for longer than the time I'm gonna be here. So that's good to know. I'm gonna take you up on that later.
Okay.
Is that every first, second, and fourth?
Is that right?
Tuesday?
We always did Top Golf every first, second, and
I'd
fourth.
rather not go that.
We probably go like 2 out of the, yeah, I'd say 2 out of the.
Really?
When you say our record.
Yeah. No, that's.
Evaluator, you have fun.
Evaluator.
Take topics and evaluate. That's great. Yes.
Tim Thompson's optional,
Yes.
but Andy Free is the king.
I know. That's awesome.
She's been doing this for a long time. Okay. It's part of it. We saw it. If you want.
That's all.
I sent all this yesterday, but, I mean, this is a thing.
Yeah, sometimes
Yeah, I know.
I like to try
Yeah.
really hard to be honest.
I saw that.
Yeah, no, but I've also.
I'll start reading, but then
I wanna-
I'll read word for word. So it's like,
It's out.
oh, okay.
It's slightly different.
So when do you run?
I'm sorry.
When does your?
So right now, we are in the process of doing a recall of the mayor. So I filed in circuit court to do the recall. And then, so that normally takes some time. Most people don't know the process of a recall.
Yeah, that's
A
okay.
recall is like the only method that legally you could have a
Pop that off.
elected
You get to
official.
the right.
Right.
There you go.
So
Look at that.
I know the process.
Pop out.
I like to read and I sit and read,
Go down a
you
little
know,
bit.
legal jargon, all that.
Left.
So I went ahead and I filed.
Click. Drag
So
down.
once.
One more.
you get all the-
Pop out. There you go.
um,
And then drag that over.
signatures are
Drag it to the
required
left.
And I'll say,
Then
left.
we,
To your left.
go to court.
There you go.
You have to make your case.
So that way you can text in here. And you can also have
That's why everyone's so nervous, because what are you gonna say to me? I've already taken you to court, I've indicted you for your predatory tactics. What are you gonna say to me? What are you gonna go into court and say? Your Honor, I know I did these things.
Well, actually, Andrew's the host.
So basically, she's kind of like being fired in like language.
That's exactly what it is, you know, because you speak of malfeasance, we're talking about in this city, generations. So, Virginia Beach has not had a balanced budget since, I don't know if you remember Mayor Orvendorf.
Oh, I'm
Forever. So Mayor Orvendorf gave me my first scholarship at 9. She probably passed away maybe 5 years after that. So years and years ago, we've had people on council for over 20 years.
I think that was great.
One person almost 30. So that just speaks to the problem in our city. We need fresh blood. We need people, new ideas to get up on council and, you know, speak truth to what is really going on in the community. Unfortunately, we just have people that have just been, you know, so comfortable and stifled in their own bubble that they have just been so out of touch with what everybody else experiences. So my nonprofit is training and mentoring and supporting anyone who wants to run, and we are nonpartisan. I don't care what, you know, party that you're with.
I didn't memorize my speech.
We need fresh ideas.
That's why
It makes it so beautiful, you know? So we've got a lot of traction.
But you had this one in there that was like
Such a large outreach from the community, believe it or not. A lot of people have reached out.
That one, and then you had the, you know, gear out charge and how long.
Yeah, well, I had also, I like this one a lot.
So right after the vote.
And then do I go back up?
Blind man might
Well,
not
I
see with
mean,
his eyes, but it's
right
hard
after,
to filter.
right after we were finished voting, you should have went up and said, okay,
You might not
we're
always
breaking it
see
till.
what's in front of you.
In future,
or what's
yeah.
in front of you.
I'm pretty sure we're gonna break till like
Where you wanna
8,
go.
right?
No,
There was.
But, so do I go up after, like,
Well, I
do
also,
I go up after the
timing
break,
was perfect.
or he's good?
Your humor was on.
You would ask.
I'm trying to work on my.
Right in that- you're looking
So I'll come up there and ask for him, or he's got.
Whatever you think is best.
Yeah.
But
Because
what
you
we
like
can,
had, you
want
were
to break
trying to read
till
off.
7:55?
Yeah, there's a.
Okay.
things to-
Yeah, so I didn't want to mess it up.
So.
Sean, can you,
Do the basic outline.
at 7:55?
Yeah. Exact words that you want.
Yeah, we-
It was like less than 2 weeks.
So.
I also took with, Mr. Randolph.
This is pretty cool. This is
Literally
like
one
the
meeting.
most laid back group
head,
that
heart,
I've been in
and
so far.
humor thing. And,
That's why I
So
joined.
basically, when I was writing this,
Yeah,
I
really
went back.
laid
through
back,
it,
yeah.
and I was
Yeah.
like,
I think sometimes that's where I know my anxiety comes from, because you know
And then
that
it
you're
took me
walking
like,
into the
literally I
room.
wrote half of this.
Sometimes you're walking into the room with unfriendlies and you're trying to win them over and say, look,
And then.
I
the
be
other
not
half
your
I got
enemy,
prepared
I be
because I had been
these
trying
with
to
you,
get
you know? So you have to, like, you know, really sell yourself. And sometimes when I get nervous, I go to this place of monotone. It's my comfort. It's me trying not to quiver my voice and not to sound as if I'm, you know, I'm literally shaking. So I try to go.
I was like,
You know what else I do that you probably are gonna tell me that I don't do, and I do it? I
Because that's
stutter.
one thing
I've
I'm
always
still trying to
stuttered.
work on is like
And
smiling
so
more at
in my
times.
head, it's literally like I'm replaying what I've already said. It's the
Before,
weirdest thing.
I've
So
always-
if I'm trying to
you know, I
read
get
something,
great
you can really
messages
tell what I'm
and
trying to read.
emotional messages usually,
If
but
I'm trying to read it, it's almost like I'm the echo. I know it sounds stupid, but, and then you get lost, because did I just say, I just said that, why are you reading that again? You know, oh gosh, it's so frustrating.
If you try to.
But yeah, so I'm trying to like overcome all of these
That's why.
issues I've had literally all my
By the
life.
way, one of the things.
And then you think, oh, I'll just live with it. I've lived with it this long.
So.
Yeah, especially public speaking, because you can just shy away from it once you get older.
Right.
You're like, yeah.
Right.
I
Right. Never thinking that I was running.
You know what I mean?
And you said something happened with your kids, that's why you.
Yes, Google it. My children were the kids. If you remember the story about 4 years ago, there were children that they learned were being locked in rooms at Rosemont Elementary. They got it on video, dragging my son up the hallway, dropping him down on the floor, locking him up. And then you sit there in the room with the teachers and you're like, well, what happened? What did you do?
All right, I hate to be the party pooper. I hate to be the party pooper, but we're gonna.
If we're gonna come back, you gotta bang the gavel really loud.
I hate to be the party pooper, everybody, but I gotta call the meeting back into order. We're gonna move on to our second portion of the meeting, which is table topics, which will be hosted by Ms. Elizabeth Clare. So please give her a warm welcome.
Hey, come on. Thank you. The theme of these questions is love. And I've got lots of questions. So, because it's Valentine week, many young people and some old people have a crush on someone who is totally unattainable. For example, when I was 12 years old, I had a crush on Vincent Price because I loved his voice on the radio. Who have you had a crush on, if you have? How did it turn out and why? Who was this person? Let's see, let us call on, I have a whole list of who I'm going to call on. Zach.
Elizabeth, can I get that question one more time, please?
Have you ever had a crush on someone who was totally unattainable? If so, who was that? And how did it turn out? And why did you have that crush?
Thank you so much for that great question, Elizabeth Clare. So crush on. I mean, there's plenty of people that I have had crushes on, celebrities and, all these Instagram influencers and all this stuff. I mean, as for the ones that are, it's hard because I've really developed myself in communication. In a lot of ways, I was very, very shy and reserved as a kid. And so pretty much anyone, was unattainable in some ways. And, while that, is becoming less and less true, I really need to put myself out there more and more. But in terms of what is unattainable, that's kind of a hard question. Of the people that I'm in contact with, that's such a hard question. Unattainable. I'd really have to. What's that?
Well, let's start out with someone who was attainable.
Okay. It's tough too.
Have you ever attained?
Yeah. Okay. What? All right. I want to keep talking. Okay. I want to talk through this. Attainable. That's a great question. It's difficult for me for a variety of reasons. But anyways, yeah. It's not that yeah, it's a tough question.
This man PTSD.
Yeah.
What?
PTSD, you're thinking back.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, thank you for that great question.
Thank you. I didn't mean to stress you out there about crushes. But thank you for your great efforts at answering and searching your heart to see if there were actually people in your past that you had a crush on. The Chinese philosopher Lu Tzu said, being deeply loved by someone gives you strength, while loving someone else deeply gives you courage. What strength or courage has love ever given you? And if not, why not? Robert Riggs.
don't think I'm ever going to get through this. I know I will. They told me I will. I've seen this time and again in certain movies, but eventually it will be somebody else. They always told me the best way to get over one woman was to get under another, but I don't know if that's the best thing. Maybe I can find a different way. And that's essentially what I did. I found my way through heartbreak, gut wrenching. I loved her, and it took 2 years to get over her. You asked about strength and courage. Well, there was at least 6 months to a year of depression. And then eventually it got better. It took a long time. But when you go through that first love, that first heartbreak, you begin to start to become a better person because you've learned that, well, maybe she was in a different place and I was in a different place, and we're just young and we'll be completely different people in 10 years. And, you know, there's that hope that we might get back together, but we don't. No. Love taught me that I can go forward and I can survive. It gave me the courage to see that there's a much bigger world out there, that my life, while important to me, in reality, is just a small part of everybody else's world. Just because my world has been shattered doesn't mean that life can't go on. And there's so much more in that outside world besides my little world that can give me hope and dreams and a better life. And eventually, after falling in love 3, 4, 5 times, I think officially it's only happened like 3. The third one's the charm. That's the one that stuck. That's the one that's sticking right now. I'm not married yet, but ask me again in another year and a half, because I'm engaged right now. But ask me another year and a half, there'll be a ring on it. She put a ring on it pretty soon, right? Eventually, love will give you strength and courage. You just have to have the patience and the time to survive through it. And it is true, though, that sometimes the best way to get over one girl is, in fact, to get under another. But I would say take your time in that process. Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Robert. Great share. Great loves have you, and great love have you right now. So I know your lady love and how powerful she is in your life. Elizabeth Barrett Browning wrote a famous love poem that began, "How do I love thee? Let me count the ways." So I would like you to choose either someone you love or something you love, or maybe Toastmasters, and tell us all the ways you love that person or that thing. Hans, Julhilda.
Okay. What I love the most is what I've had both the privilege and the sorrow of having to deal with over the last month and a half. My wife basically had surgery on the 29th of December, where they drilled in, or they cut open the back between C3 and C6 in her spinal column. They drilled in on either side and removed 4 vertebrae and put in 2 titanium rods in the back of her neck. As you can imagine, that is extremely painful. And one of the reasons I haven't been in Toastmasters for a very long time is because my wife has been going through this, both the pain before the surgery and the surgery and all the aftermath, which has been an absolutely tremendous pain for her. But at the same time, I've been able to look through this, and our love for each other has tremendously deepened because of the pain and the heartache that we've been going through over the last 2 to 3 months. Madam Table Topics Matter.
Thank you, Hans. And how fortunate she is to have you at her side going through the difficulties of this surgery and this pain. So we all cheer you on and send our love to both of you. Here is a quote from Dr. Seuss about love. Do you agree or disagree? He said, "We're all a little weird, and life is a little weird. And when we find someone whose weirdness is compatible with our weirdness, we join up with them and fall in mutual weirdness and call it love." Let's see. How about Sandeep?
Good evening, everyone. So, thanks for the questions, Topics Master. So, I'm a weird person, and I meet another weird person, and we both join together to create more weirdness. I will agree with it. Like, according to me, I think that's what I have experienced, like my past relationships and my current relationships. Like we're not compatible with all the people. Like we have to find the right person. Like only few lucky person will find it. So that's when weirdness meets weirdness. So yeah, so I should totally agree with that. Back to you, Topics Master.
I haven't made your green yet.
What's that?
Just keep swimming, just keep swimming.
Oh yeah, how do I do this after this? Okay, back to you.
Great job, Sandy. That was a truly difficult question. What is your favorite popular love song and why? Or maybe it's an unpopular love song or love songs you don't like. Andrew.
It'll be some of the time for me.
We'll time for you.
Oh, love song. That's an interesting question. I like a lot of music. As far as love songs, I'd have to say, oh, that's my favorite love song. Actually, yes. There's a song by Phil Perry called My Book of Love. It's a fantastic song. If you ever get a chance to listen to it, look it up. Basically, in the song, he talks about how the story is just about me and you, meaning him and the person that he was involved with. There was basically this book was being written about your relationship and how everything that you did wrote the chapters, and there's no need to get confused with characters because it's just the two of you. And that's how a relationship should be. It should be about the two of you working together, creating your own story, as opposed to muddying it up with getting everything else involved into your relationship, your story. And I can honestly say that song is often on my mind when I think about my own relationship. Thank you for that question, Elizabeth. Back to you.
Thank you. Thank you. All these questions kind of point out the love is a many splendored thing in many different ways. people say, I love French fries. And they say to a man or a woman or a partner, like, I love you. What is the difference between those two kinds of love, please? And if someone said to you, I love you, would you say like French fries or something more serious? Lee Walker.
Madam Tabletop Master, fellow Toastmasters and guests. When you hear the phrase or statement, I love you, and Elizabeth, the Tabletop Master, just pointed out 2 examples. I love French fries, or I love you, or I love whatever object or subject area. So there's 2 different kinds. And when you're talking about a loving an object or food or something like that, if you have a strong feeling for it, a likeness or a like, it's a strong like. You enjoy it, it's comfort. Like loving French fries, it may be comfort food for you, even though it's not healthy, but it's comfort, and it's just helps you out. And then when you say the phrase "I love you" as somebody that you're in a relationship, or you're somebody you care about, that's a more deeper meaning of love, or using the word love. That's kind of all that's coming in my head. But then I think from a spiritual point, and maybe not really religious, more spiritual and church background, you have God and Jesus, and in the Bible it refers to agape love, which is an even stronger love than a relationship love for God, or God's love and Jesus' love, and or a higher power if you don't really recognize God or Jesus, and that's fine. But that kind of usually pops in my head because that's come up a lot over the years at the church I attend, I guess, because Baptist church, and I don't know, the word agape comes up a lot of times in conversations, just strong love of God, love of Jesus. Madam Tabletop Master.
Thank you. It certainly shows that our language doesn't have enough words for the different kinds of love. And you brought up the Greek word agape, which is the kind of love for a student for a teacher, or for a person for a mentor, and a mentor for the person they're menteeing. So in our next life, we'll design a language that has vocabulary to describe all the different kinds of love. So if someone says, I love you, and what they really mean is the same way I love French fries, you won't get stuck. Do we have more time for more questions? Because I asked a lot of questions so far. How are we doing on time, Mr. Timer?
I have time enough for 2 more participants.
2 more. And who has not had a chance to speak yet? We have a guest, Charlotte. Do we have a guest? Yes. Charlotte, you want to answer a question? Okay, good. Charlotte, I don't know if you're a gardener, but how is loving someone like caring for a garden or a tree?
I would relate that question to a quote that I read by Buddha.
when you love something, you water it, but when you like something, you pick it. So, to explain it a little bit further, when you love something, you're making a choice to attend to it daily. So you will nurture it, and you will conserve it. But when you like something, it's like an impulse. So you will say, I like this, so you will pick it. And you know, with us humans, our emotions change often. So you might like it in that 5 minutes, but 20 minutes from later, you might see something else that you like and you decide to pick that as well. But when you love something, you make a choice and a sacrifice to deal with whatever may come. Maybe the plants may got overran with weeds or parasites. You will still take the time to nurture that garden and feed it fertilizer to make sure that it is properly fed. So I would compare that to that saying by Buddha.
Thank you, Charlotte. I asked the right person that question. You certainly have a profound answer. I loved it. When you like something, you pick it, and when you love something, you water it and tend it. Good. Anybody else who has not been called on? Robert, you're going to tell me who that is?
Out of the people who are not speaking tonight, I think Luke Dobbs might be the only one who had a call on left, and Mallory Myers.
Luke? Luke, unconditional love is an ideal. Have you ever been loved unconditionally? Or have you loved unconditionally? What is that like?
What is that like? Adam Table Toastmaster, thank you very much for the question. I do have to laugh because it brings back somewhat of a memory. I don't know if anyone's ever played the game of telephone, but as you know how telephone goes, you start at the head of a chain of people, give a phrase, and they whisper it to each other as it goes down, and it really makes you grasp the concept of miscommunication. And it's completely a tangential topic, has no bearing whatsoever to the question, but the game I played, it said, God's love is unconditional. When it got to me, it said, God's love is an air conditioner. Air conditioner aside, that is a profound love. In fact, as they say, relationships, they take work. Relationships aren't just something you have in a day and it's gone in a flash. It's not something you pick. It's something you have to nurture and water. And that, to me, is the definition of an unconditional love, is a nurturing relationship. Thank you for the question. Back to you, Matt, on Tabletop Toastmaster.
Thank you. And I won't forget that God's love is an air conditioner. That's a beautiful story. You know, I was at a program with Tony Robbins, who was going to train us to walk on hot coals. And he had to hypnotize us the evening before. And one of the things he told us is that we had to think back to a time when we were loved unconditionally. And I go, oh, darn, I'm not going to be able to do this. And then he said, even if it was a dog. I go, oh, okay. My dog loved me unconditionally. And I have another one, and she does too. Do we have time for one more?
You also have Tammy. So I think Tammy and Mallory are the only two, and I leave it up to Andrew for time.
Tammy's evaluating?
Evaluating.
I would say that would be enough. We're at the time.
We're at time. Okay, well, thank you everybody for your speeches, and let's give a round of applause for all those who participated.
I will go ahead and give my timeless report. All righty. So we had one disqualification for time, but the following times are: Zach came in at 1 minute and 45 seconds. Robert Riggs came in at 2 minutes and 22 seconds. Hans came in at 1 minute and 26 seconds. Sandeep came in at 1 minute and 6 seconds. I came in at
1 minute and 44 seconds.
1 minute and 44 seconds. All right. And then Lee was disqualified at 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Charlotte came in at 1 minute and 14 seconds. And Luke came in at 1 minute and 10 seconds. The poll is being launched now.
All right, we're gonna vote. What is your name?
Lashara, yeah,
I'm the second. Sounds really like royalty.
All right, I'm gonna call up the general evaluator, Sandeep.
Good evening again. So welcome to the last section of the meeting, which is the general evaluation. So for that, so since we have 4 speakers, we have 4 evaluators. The first person I'm going to call upon is Luke Dobbs, evaluating Sherry Thompson.
Thanks, Sandeep. Sherry, you did it. Icebreaker speech. You shake the nerves, it's over with. And not only that, you did a magnificent job. You really have started off with quite the base. I'm impressed, I really am. You, throughout your speech, you really excelled at emoting and gesturing. I really noted that. And you used it as punctuation, and it really enhanced your speech. Your enunciation was actually very clear, and that was one of the main things that really stuck out to me. We could really follow your words very clearly, and it was easy to follow, and the flow went quite well. What I also really appreciated with your speech, and I think this might be sort of your style, you engage the audience by incorporating emotion into it. Your key points, you kind of structured your speech with emotion on different emotional baselines, and it really brought us in. And I think that was well done. It was a well way to deliver your speech and with the topic at hand. I can safely say that Schadenfreude was not experienced in me, and I don't think I would be able to. I don't even know if that would be in your dictionary because of your profession. You really draw pleasure from helping others. So no Schadenfreude there. For areas you might want to work on, I would probably say a good starting point is vocal variety. You had some great moments where maybe you raised a question and you went up with the question, it was good, or an emotional reaction to something, but use vocal variety to really modulate your voice and tone, to kind of wake people up as they go, or prevent a blending of sections of your speech. So that might be one area you could look at. And I'd like to challenge you with Mr. Robert Riggs' infamous pregnant pause. Pauses are a pretty, as speakers, can be kind of a tough topic to master, but it's a really powerful tool. And just talking of punctuation, a pregnant pause will really punctuate your point. Just the gap of silence allows a breath for everyone to ruminate on what you said and really to drive home points. So that might be a challenge I'll give to you, is to incorporate a pregnant pause or just a pause in your speech in the future. But it was really great. I enjoyed it a lot. Thank you very much, Sherry. Well done.
Thank you, lead ops. That was a great evaluation. So the next evaluator I'm going to call upon is Zach Phillips, and he's going to evaluate the second speaker.
Madam Natasha Holloway.
Natasha Holloway. Sorry about that.
Thank you so much, members and guests, and especially to you, Natasha. First of all, very, very clear and eloquent speaking. I really love your tone, which is a lot of the vocal variety. But yeah, your tone is wonderful, dramatic. I can tell you probably took like either an acting class or even like some sort of like emotional choral singing, because something about it. I don't know if it's just like the way you listen to yourself or what, but you just naturally like drew us in with the content of your speech, which means you're very aware of your audience. And just because, you know, the subject matter is Virginia Beach and we all are citizens of Hampton Roads area at the very least, you know, it relates to every single person in this room, and et cetera. But yeah, very clear, eloquent, had the emotional connection, dramatic tone. There was some really good eye contact, I would say. You could obviously use a little bit more, but having said that, you know, good job with that. And moving into that, the hand gestures were there, but you know, you might want to work on a little bit more, you know, variety, because I mean, it was mostly just sort of like this and then like this a couple times. So work on that a little bit more. But yeah, it's very tough to pick out exactly what you might want to work more on. The evaluation is for your vocal variety. I felt you had great vocal variety, but you might want to work a little bit more on your body language. Again, more gestures. You know, just maybe, and here's what you might want to challenge yourself on is maybe, and this probably doesn't necessarily fit with the content of your speech, because it was sort of like, almost like you were addressing people and introducing yourself and, you know, explaining your purpose for why, you know, you want to be the mayor, or, you know, some, you know, what issues you were talking about. But yeah, I mean, like, if you want to further challenge yourself, find a way to step out from the lectern and even just give those gestures and, you know, just really connect even more with the audience. But having said that, you connected really, really well, and I do applaud you for a great first speech here. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you, Zach, for the great evaluation. So the next evaluator I'm going to call upon is Robert Riggs, and he's going to evaluate Sean Marco.
I had a speech titled My Father. I don't know exactly what I would talk about, but I would probably experience some element of a Schadenfreude experience, because some ways my father might be like Archie Bunker, but other ways he might be like, oh, I don't know, most of the fathers from Modern Family. They're all hilarious in their own way. All of us see elements of our parents out in the world, and in many ways it's all inside of us. Sean is talking about his father tonight, and I was very happy to hear what he had to say about his father, because that's a really good choice for a mentor. Truth be told, I like the fact that his father kind of kicks him in the butt a little bit and gives him some like really good ideas on basic things like, oh, maybe you should use logic. And I actually had a good conversation with Zach on the way over here about logic. He said, well, that's like my father's logic. And I'm like, well, is your father's logic logical? He said, yeah, most of the time. That's a pretty good response. You know, it's like at the same time, like his father actually is logical. So it teaches him some valuable skills. I liked how he chose his father. It really gave a good opportunity to talk about what a mentor can be. We can all relate. Good choice, Sean. I would also like to say that I'm glad that he actually got up and spoke. Somebody over here has the title Long Lost Toastmaster. See, Hans right there, Long Lost Toastmaster. I would call Sean Markle the long lost speaker, because we actually talked. I said, what was the last time you spoke? Well, I don't know. When I got my L1, I'm like, when was that? And he's like, it was last December. It was last October, okay? And so you spoke. I love the fact that you spoke. It gives you an opportunity to get up here and practice. When you actually came up here, you had great vocal variety. I loved it. Sean he gave us all this wonderful eye contact. He actually spoke to us like he was having a conversation with us. I liked that. It's your strength. Your strength is that you are very emotive. You use your hands. Sometimes our strength is our weakness, though, because when you used your hands a lot, you also came over here and you came over here. And I was like, okay, wait, hold on a second. He's got the vocal variety. He's got the eye contact. It's a really great organized speech. Good choice. I like the fact you chose your father. You really have really good quotes, quality diction, quality rhythm. But you've always kept that fast pace. Always kept that fast pace. And to me, it just felt a little rushed. You had a lot of fun things to say, but it was rushed. I am going to give you a little trick. If you have a speech on a phone, don't put it on a phone. Put it on a piece of paper, then put it on a lectern. But if you have a speech on a phone, put it on a lectern. And then you can be like, there's the reference. There's the reference. Whatever you do, here's your reference. Most people want to use the Kung Fu grip with the lectern. You were not using the lectern, so I would challenge you to use the lectern as that anchor with the notes. Okay, I was about to say, it had to go from green to red fast. All right. So I'll rush to the end. Print out your notes, put them on the lectern, take off your mask. If you're going to be up here speaking, there's nobody within 6 feet of you, okay? Take off your mask, it's okay. Allow your body to speak for you, but only so much that it is meant for a purpose. There's a phrase I like to use, overacting. Overacting. You might need a little bit more overacting, just a little bit. Sean needs a little bit less overacting. Sean, I love you. Had a really great speech. Vast majority of it wonderful. I can't wait to hear from your next one. Do not make it 4 months. Make it like 3 or 4 weeks. That being said, wonderful job, Madam or Mr. General Evaluator.
You need to see his playing. He's playing that whole, they're like smashing.
So for the final evaluator of the evening, she's going to be evaluating John Gregory, and that is Tammy Adama. Tammy Adama.
Thank you. John, you opened with humor, and I just love that. It's always a good thing. And what a great way to get our attention. For your project, you were supposed to talk about something that was unfamiliar to your audience. Your topic is something everyone could relate to, and it was familiar, but your personal story to us, at least me, wasn't familiar. So it was an unfamiliar topic. You got the audience involved, which is a great technique to keep our attention. And I've been fortunate enough to see you speak and grow in Toastmasters, and you can definitely see how you've improved over time. And I know Robert said it's been a while, but you've grown in that time, so good job. What you might want to work on is also coming out from behind the lectern. Your vocal variety wasn't bad, but this is an area that you may want to work on. You can play with your pitch and tone because it mostly stayed the same. However, your voice was loud and it was clear. So that's a good thing. And because we all want to hear what you said. Very motivating. To challenge yourself, I would say to use your space more purposely. I think it was one of the evaluators who showed, walk, make eye contact with one of the people in your audience, talk for a few minutes so they feel engaged. You can look at somebody else while you're over there, and then purposely walk to the other side or to the middle and then do it again. I mean, you don't overdo it because then it looks like Robert doing all this, but just enough to make everybody feel like you're personally speaking with them. Otherwise, I would say you are definitely not stuck. You are definitely back on your feet, and you're doing a great, great job. So thank you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Tammy, for the great evaluation. Could I please have the timer's report, please, Mr. Timer?
Absolutely. All righty. Our evaluators, we had one disqualification for time. Luke Dobbs came in at 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Zach Phillips came in at 2 minutes and 13 seconds. Robbie Riggs spoke for 3 minutes and 54 seconds. And Tammy Adama spoke for 2 minutes and 20 seconds.
Can I make a request? The green went to a red really fast, and that's the only reason why I spoke longer.
You didn't look at Mallory.
No, Mallory had a green and then it instantly
It
went
went red, yeah.
That's why I had to rush to finish.
Excuses.
Excuses.
Can I request?
It's the first time he had an excuse.
Your excuses only work on the weak-minded. The poll is launching now. You may vote between Luke Dobbs, Zach Phillips, and Tammy Adama.
This is for the.
Sorry.
It wasn't even a good evaluation. I definitely had some stuff that I overdid. I got to think that my organization was very good.
No, yours was really structured. Really helped. Your evaluations above it.
So next, I would like to call upon the helper roles. So the first one I'm going to call upon this evening is the grammarian R counter, Mr. Hans. Will you please give your grammarian R counter report?
Okay. Sherry in her icebreaker had 3 ands and an Natasha, 2 ums and 2 ands that were misplaced. Sean Markle, 1 John Gregory, 1 Zach, in first part was 2 ahs, 2 ums, and 2 you knows. Robert, 1 Hans, I give myself 1 and 1 ah. Sandeep, 1 ah and 1 Andrew, 2 ums. Lee, 1 Charlotte, 2 so's. Luke, 3 ums. And Zach, on the second go around, I stopped counting at 5, and I'm giving 2 and 3 to Robert from Zach's pile. That's it.
Again?
Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Mr. Hans. So the next helper role I'm going to call upon is the Wordmaster Listener, Lee Walker.
Word of the evening. Have Luke and Robert. Anybody else?
This man right here. Twice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
he
have
said,
to unmute so we can shout out our answers.
I haven't gotten to listen up yet. But it's okay. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was an interesting word, but it just didn't really fit into our subject area, I guess, for speeches and tabletop. That's okay. That's a new word for our vocabulary. So listen up. What was one main topic or subject area that Latasha talked about in her speech?
Running for mayor.
Equity.
Equity, yeah. The 1989 Greek Festival.
All right, let me rephrase that. I didn't do that right. Anyway.
Can you be closer to a microphone?
It's a major subject or topic for the city of Virginia Beach. It's come up from a lot of people. It's
voting rights.
One word. That's
Equity.
close.
Equity.
There you go. Ding. You got it. What was that? Somebody already said it? No, I thought you said somebody had said it earlier and I didn't hear it.
Elizabeth said it like 5 times.
Oh, okay. No, I did hear her say it, but she said, okay, 5 times. All right. Okay. What did Latasha's family experience?
Discrimination.
Lots of eminent domain laws, probably.
There you go. Yep. What food item did Sean mention in his speech?
Food item?
It wasn't French fries, was it?
No, that was
That's all I can think about now.
Bologna.
McDonald's.
That wasn't French toast.
Oh,
McDonald's.
you went to McDonald's making $7.25 an hour.
Yeah.
That wasn't a food item though.
What's the answer? I think it wasn't someone
It is garlic.
Oh,
David John was like,
I didn't want to say a spice or a season. They were giving it away, right? What one word did Sean talk about his father, and Robert Riggs also mentioned it in his evaluation?
Logic.
It was logical.
Yes.
Not a Seahawks fan.
In Sherry's speech, what did she experience that kind of changed her, I guess, professional path as being a physician or doctor? Or...
People's reactions in the hospital, particularly one guy who basically wanted to just eat bad stuff anyways.
People didn't want to change.
Am I gonna die today if I don't stop changing? Basically, like, you know, well, I can still die tomorrow if I eat this today, but I'm okay with that eventually.
Yeah, I'll give you credit for that, but I was thinking of migraines.
Oh.
Is that correct?
That's what Sherry had with migraine.
Oh, correct. Because I had multiple decision trees.
Okay.
Yeah, that is how it got into functional medicine.
All right. How did John Gregory grow up, or what was like his background? There you go. And what object did he refer to and gave us a good example of?
Bicycle.
There you go. Yeah.
Falling on fire ants.
I didn't actually have it.
In Zach's table topic, crushes or dealing with crushes, did he mention anybody's name?
Well,
He was smart.
That's the way to put it.
Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, listener, about myself today. So now the tough part, like my general evaluation. This is the first time I'm doing the general evaluation here. Last time I did was virtual, and somehow I did I went through it. So let's start off with the evaluations. So the first evaluation was done by Luke Dobbs. So you evaluated Sherry Marshall, who did our icebreaker. I like the fact that you pointed out the positives properly. So, and you also mentioned that she could work on her vocal variety and all that stuff. And the challenge which you told, like work on the pauses and everything, that was great. One thing which you could have mentioned was like the fact that she stood up. She was not like seated in her seat. Because when I did my icebreaker, I was sitting in my seat because I was so nervous and that kind of stuff. So you could have maybe commented on that part. That was one thing which I felt about your evaluation, but overall good evaluation. I liked it. You didn't discourage, since this was the first speech, you didn't like make any discouraging statement or anything. It was encouraging. That was good. The second evaluation was done by Zach Phillips, and you evaluated Latasha. That was a really professional speech. Very, very tough to, find fault with it. But I think, Zach, you did a good job. Like you pointed out the positives and everything. But the fact is, like, you did not find any negative with it. You must at least find a way to at least like pinpoint something maybe, which was very tough with her speech. That was one thing which I could point out. And you challenged her by saying like to step away from the lectern, which I think is a great point. I think it should be easy for you to step away from the lectern because you have a good natural body language. You mentioned that you're not a natural speaker, but I felt like it comes naturally to you. So that was good. The next evaluation was Robert Riggs, and he evaluated Sean Markham. You went overtime, which was not good. You keep doing it again and again.
I blame the time.
Yeah. So initially, like you commented on the fact that he chose his father as the mentor. You could have skipped that part. That is what I felt, because that you consumed like almost a minute, like by mentioning that fact. Maybe if you had moved away from that part, you could have gone within the time. You pointed out the positives properly, like the use of stage and use of his body language and everything. And I also like the fact that you told him to use the lectern, which was like contradicting from Zach, who told her to go away from the lectern. So I think that was a good challenge for him. You should follow that, yeah. So yeah, that was a good, except for the fact that you went overtime. I think it was a good evaluation. And the next one was Tammy. She evaluated John Gregory. Yeah, again, John Gregory's speech was great. I liked your body language, your vocal variety, your voice. You have a commanding voice and everything. It was motivational, inspirational and everything. Tammy did a good job evaluating it. She pointed out the positives, but one thing you could have mentioned was the fact that John, like he kept looking at his notes often. I think you missed that part. Maybe you could have pointed out the fact that he used that, and maybe you could have prepared more for your speech, like with more eye contact and everything. And yeah, you had a good humor sense as well. And the challenge to use the stage was very good. And I think you should be able to do it for a speaker of your caliber. So that would be the evaluations. Next, the table topics. So love, I think the topic was great, universal, because everyone, we all have love in our life. We share love and spread love and everything. So the topics are all great. Some of the topics are philosophical. So yeah, so that was a great table topic section. So let me evaluate. So I have a short note on all the speakers. To start off with Zach, I think you broke down in the middle. Like you started off well by saying like you have like crushes on the Instagram influencers, Twitter users and everything. But I think you shied away from the fact that you didn't want to mention any name. So yeah, but you could have just said a random name and finished off the speech. So yeah, that was not bad. You had a good humor sense and everything. Next, Robert Riggs. You started off the speech by performing a kind of an act, which was great. You engaged the audience and you brought them into your speech. And I like the quote which you said, like the best way to get over a woman is to go after another woman. So that was great. You had a good introduction, good conclusion, everything. So next, Hans. I think his table topics was kind of more emotional because he spoke about his wife and how supportive he is as a husband. So that was a good table topics. Andrew, I think, yeah, you spoke about your favorite love song. So I think you took initially some time to think of the song, but once you thought of the song, you described your song very well. Like you had a good description of your song and everything. That was good. Next is Lee Walker. You started off with French fries and then you ended up with spiritual love. I don't know how you got there, but but yeah, but yeah, you somehow connected it and somehow you made through it. So that was great, Lee Walker. The guest, I forgot your name. What's it? Lashara. The fact that on the spot you were able to think of a quote by Buddha to connect it to the speech, that was really commendable. When you love something, you water it, and when you like something, you pick it. That was great. It was really commendable, like because it's your first table topics and you didn't show any nervousness. You had a good introduction, good conclusion, and everything. That was great. And next is Luke. So you started off by talking about the game of telephone, which was not related to the question. You spoke about the fact that God's love was the first word, but ended up with air conditioner or something. That was good. That was a nice sense of humor you had there, and then you entered the speech by saying that nurturing relationship is unconditional love. I like that statement. So yeah, overall, all the table topic speakers did a great job. I just enjoyed it. And regarding a general overall evaluation of the meeting, it started off on time. I think the fact is like on Saturday, Zach asked me if I can be the general evaluator. Maybe he could have done it beforehand. And I think Mallory was assigned it on Saturday. So, and agenda was sent on Sunday, but I think still few helper roles were kind of like not filled. Probably could have been done beforehand. So apart from that, I think the meeting started on time, and it's the first time I think we had 4 speakers in a long time. So it was kind of a big meeting, like it's almost 9. So it's been a long time since we had this long a meeting. So overall, I liked the meeting. The table topic section was good. And all the evaluators, speakers, everyone did a great job, helper roles and everything. So yeah, I'm satisfied with the meeting. Back to you, the acting president.
Thank you so much, General Evaluator Sandeep. Sometime.
Yes, he's hilarious.
Oh, great, wonderful. All right. Well, speaking of which, do we all have a great time this evening?
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. And real quick, just to wrap it up, I keep forgetting your name, even though I evaluated you. Natasha. Okay, how did you feel this meeting went?
This was really fun.
Good.
And I like how lighthearted that it takes a lot of the anxiety. I talked to you about that earlier, yes. Takes a lot of the anxiety out of the air.
Oh, sure.
As Evan advised, this is your first night here? Yeah. Ever to a Toastmaster? Mm-hmm. And she was just like so awesome and flawless.
Oh, yeah.
But I would contribute that to the environment.
Oh, yeah.
And everyone making everyone feel welcome. So that's great.
I've only been to like 2 or 3 clubs, and this is casual. It's wonderful. It's partly because it's like 2 hours long, but it's like an hour and a half. So yeah, it's like a fun, casual atmosphere. We'll have a great time. Lashara, what did you think?
I like it. I'll definitely come on first and Saturday for Tuesdays.
Okay, beautiful. 7 to 9. We'll be here. Okay, so any announcements real quick? I personally don't have any. Go ahead, Robert Riggs.
I just want to reiterate that dues are due.
Okay.
I think actually I'll defer to our treasurer if he wants to speak.
Why should I? You took the words right out of my mouth.
Are you sending out invoices?
I will be sending out invoices this week. I would have already sent them out, but I've had some other stuff going on. But I will be issuing those invoices. For those who wish to contribute to our new webcam for the club, Tipping will be activated on the invoice, so you can add a little extra contribution to the purchase of the new webcam. This webcam will actually allow us to have a full 360 view of the room for those of us who are virtual, so we can see everybody in attendance and not just the lectern. That's all I have. Yes.
Right. If we're not sending in dues, should we mail in a contribution for the webcam or what?
I can dispatch someone to meet with you in person to collect those.
Okay, good.
All right. Any other questions? All righty. Back to you, Mr. Acting President.
We're going to have, I guess we're not having a contest, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to have an area contest. And I don't know how we're going to be doing. I guess we're going to be discussing that in the officer meeting next week, I assume. But the club has to elect, basically agree to have 2 people and a minimum 1 person to go to the area contest. So I believe we always have international speech in the spring, but this year I think we're also having table topics. Yeah. So I guess the club has to vote in some capacity. We're not going to have a contest. So that will be discussed next week, I assume, at the officers meeting. Yeah. Okay. So do you think we're going to do voting by email or something like that?
Yeah, that's a good option.
Yeah, we'll figure that out next week.
I look forward to hearing what the Vice President of Education has to do. Okay.
It's a great option. And we'll discuss it next Tuesday. All the meetings. All right, without further ado, I'm going to announce the best speaker, the best table topics, and the best evaluator. First up, best speaker. Drum roll, please. Staring right at him. John Gregory, best speaker. Best speaker, come up here. Come on up. Come on up. This is one of the first times I've actually ribbon in person. Most of the time it's all virtual. Somehow it's all virtual. It's crazy.
We didn't have these before.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
All right. Okay, best table topics. Goes to Lashara. Yeah, you won. Great. You really did good. That quote, I just love a good quote, you know? Yes. All right, you're welcome. All right, and finally, best evaluator. Options. Robert Biggs is disqualified. All right, Blue Tops. Blue Tops won. Best evaluator. There we go. All right. Lovely, lovely. All right, so real quick, Andrew, do you want to pull up the agenda for for the final meeting of this month?
Not particularly, but interview.
Okay, well, someone can do it.
I got you.
I don't know why you put it like that. Yeah, but I mean, there's still.
What educational meeting I think got changed on the 4th Tuesday, is that right?
Yeah.
Right, so it's not an educational meeting, is that correct?
Yeah.
So it is not, or it is?
We're pushing back in the educational meeting. Yeah. So that John Gregory can give a very long and wonderful, impactful speech, amongst other things.
Well, he's giving the long speech in the beginning of March.
I don't know.
Yeah.
My goal is to do like 5 this month at different clubs. So.
I have John Gregory scheduled for speaker number 1. Tammy Adama is our topics master. And everything else is fair game.
Anyone? Anybody? You?
I'll do the listen up /
Word master,
and I'll do the invocation as well.
I could probably be a timer if someone times me this week.
Anybody else?
I heard Sean Markle wanted to do something. He told us.
Huh? All right.
I heard Sean Deep also wants to do a role.
How many evaluators do you need?
Just one.
Natasha,
Are you volunteering?
I can trade the timer.
That'd be too good now.
Okay.
You're gonna evaluate your own speech.
Say again, Greg, John Gregory?
Oh.
So Latasha said that she wanted, it's gonna give her, I think it's gonna be her second, it depends on when she's available next Thursday, but it'll be at least her first.
Tuesday or
second
Thursday?
evaluation feedback.
Tuesday or Thursday?
So next Thursday, Latasha may be able to attend another club.
Okay.
If she can, if she doesn't, then it'll be her first evaluation and feedback. But I think that's, and then, or her second, either way, she said that she'd like to give a speech.
Okay. All right. Anybody? All right, going once, going twice. Sold.
Wait.
Going like 4 or 5 different roles.
Yes,
There we go.
I'll run the whole thing.
There we
I'll
go.
be speaker, that'll be all the evaluators. I didn't have to show up. They were just.
Yeah. Virtual. Hologram.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so great meeting, everybody. Hope you all had a great time. And meeting adjourned.
Come on, top off. How often am I here on a Tuesday?
Yeah.